It was nearing midnight when John Harker, a weary night shift worker, took the shortcut home through the narrow alleyways of downtown Newcrest. The city, usually vibrant and bustling, felt unusually silent as John passed the closed shops and dark windows. His footsteps echoed off the walls, mingling with the distant sound of a siren fading into the night. As he approached the large dumpsters behind Benny's diner, a faint, unusual sound stopped him in his tracks. It was a soft, mewling cry, barely audible yet unmistakably alive. John paused, his heart racing with a mix of concern and curiosity. The cries seemed to come from one of the dumpsters, an overflowing container usually filled with the remnants of the diner's busy day. With a hesitant step forward, John opened the lid of the dumpster. The smell of spoiled food and stale coffee assaulted his senses, but he pressed on, compelled by the helpless whimpers. Shining his flashlight into the chaos of trash bags and food waste, his light landed on something utterly unexpected: an infant wrapped in a tattered blue blanket, its cries weak but persistent. An unearthly discovery. John's initial shock gave way to action as he carefully lifted the child out of the dumpster. The baby, oddly calm now, seemed to study John with an intense, almost knowing gaze. As the light from the street lamp fell upon the child, John noticed something extraordinary. The baby's skin had a subtle, iridescent sheen, and its eyes, a deep violet, sparkled with an otherworldly glow. Back in his modest apartment, John examined the baby more closely. It was definitely human-like, but its small, delicate features and the faint glow emanating from its skin were unlike any human child John had ever seen. His mind raced with questions. Who was this child, and how did it end up in a dumpster on a chilly night? Decision to protect. Knowing the child needed warmth and care, John wrapped it in a clean blanket and prepared a makeshift bed. As he watched the baby sleep, a deep sense of responsibility took hold. He could not just hand over this mysterious child to the authorities, not when it was clear this was no ordinary human. John decided, at least for now, he would protect and raise this child as his own. The morning after the next morning, John called out from work, claiming a sudden illness. He spent the day scouring the internet for anything that might explain the baby's condition or origin, but found nothing. The realization dawned on him that he was dealing with something beyond normal human understanding, possibly even extraterrestrial. With each passing day, John grew more attached to the child, whom he named Eli. Eli was remarkably calm and observant, often fixing his gaze on things with an intensity that seemed beyond his infant years. John documented every oddity, every milestone, and every unexplainable behavior, growing more convinced of Eli's extraordinary nature. The community's curiosity. John managed to keep Eli's unique traits hidden for several months, but as Eli grew, so did his abilities. Neighbors started to notice that John's son was not like other children. His violet eyes, his quiet demeanor, and the subtle glow of his skin during certain moments raised eyebrows and whispered questions. Determined to protect Eli from prying eyes and harmful intentions, John knew he needed a plan. But as he prepared for a future full of uncertainties, John's routine began to evolve around Eli's needs and the increasing complexity of hiding his unusual traits. With each passing week, Eli demonstrated remarkable cognitive leaps. He absorbed information from the environment at a staggering rate, learning to communicate through gestures much earlier than any human child would. One evening, as John was reading a book on basic sign language, Eli, not yet a year old, started mimicking the signs with surprising accuracy. It was a moment of awe and fear for John. He realized that Eli's capabilities could no longer be regarded as mere developmental advancements, but were clear signs of an intellect far beyond human. The mysterious Mrs. Alvera. A turning point came with the arrival of Mrs. Alvera, an elderly neighbor who lived a few doors down. She had always been kind but somewhat distant. However, lately she seemed to take an increasing interest in John and Eli, often stopping by under the guise of offering old baby clothes or toys she had found in her late daughter's attic. One day she arrived just as Eli was displaying his ability to manipulate light. Tiny orbs of luminescence danced around his crib, a spectacle both mesmerizing and alarming. John froze, certain that Mrs. Alvera would react with fear or suspicion. Instead, she simply smiled, a knowing, serene smile, and spoke softly. "You don't have to hide him from me, John. I know what he is, or rather, I know that he is not from here. I've seen his kind before." A revelation shared. Over a cup of tea, Mrs. Alvera shared her story. Decades ago, her husband had been part of a covert operation tracking unidentified aerial phenomena. One night he came home with a fragment of what he claimed was an extraterrestrial craft, a material unknown to earthly science. He believed that not all visitors from the stars were mere observers. Some were here to integrate, to live among us. Mrs. Alvera's belief that Eli was one such being, a bridge between humans and another world, was not grounded in fear, but in wonder and possibility. She offered to help John protect Eli's secret, suggesting they might find more answers if they understood where and why such beings came to Earth. The plan. Motivated by Mrs. Alvera's story and her offer of help, John began to take greater risks to learn about Eli's origin. They started visiting locations reported for unusual activities, places where the veil between the known and unknown seemed thinnest. During these trips, Eli showed an uncanny ability to interact with his surroundings in ways that defied explanation. Plants seemed to grow more vibrant in his presence, and electronic devices would flicker to life without apparent power sources when he was near. An unexpected encounter. Their explorations eventually led them to an abandoned radio station on the outskirts of the city, a site of numerous reported anomalies. As John and Mrs. Alvera watched, Eli approached a dormant broadcasting console. His hands hovered above the controls, and the old equipment hummed to life, emitting a sequence of rhythmic pulses, almost like a signal being sent. Suddenly, the air around them crackled with energy, and a voice, clear but not quite human, filled the room. It spoke directly to Eli in a language John could not understand, but the tone was unmistakable. It was warm, familiar, the voice of a parent to a child. John looked at Mrs. Alvera, her eyes wide with astonishment and joy. As the voice faded away, the air inside the abandoned radio station slowly returned to normal, but the echo of the alien language lingered in their minds. Eli, seemingly unfazed, turned to John and Mrs. Alvera with a smile, his eyes glowing faintly under the dim lights. It was clear that whatever message had been transmitted, Eli understood it fully and was at peace with its contents. Decoding the unknown. Intrigued by the possibility of communicating further with Eli's kind, John and Mrs. Alvera decided to set up a makeshift laboratory within the radio station. They gathered old but functional equipment from various sources: oscilloscopes, radio receivers, and computers. Their goal was to capture and decode the signals Eli seemed naturally attuned to receiving and transmitting. As days turned into weeks, their efforts began to bear fruit. Using a combination of software designed for signal analysis and custom scripts John had written, they started to decode snippets of the transmissions. The language was complex, composed of layered frequencies that, when properly aligned, formed a holographic data stream. First contact. One evening, as they were aligning the frequencies, a coherent image suddenly projected from the console, a map of star systems, with lines connecting certain stars to Earth. It was a star map, undoubtedly, but it also served as a history of visits to Earth, marked with dates that corresponded to significant events in human history. Eli pointed to a specific star system, one that was highlighted and pulsing softly on the map. John and Mrs. Alvera watched as he made a series of gestures that they had come to understand as his way of explaining things. It was his home, a place he referred to as Arctura, a world where beings lived in harmony with their environment, utilizing technology that balanced their needs with the natural order, understanding, and preparation. As their understanding grew, so did their resolve to help Eli accomplish whatever mission he had been sent to fulfill. It was becoming apparent that Eli's arrival on Earth was not accidental. It was intentional and had a purpose linked to the well-being of both his world and ours. Mrs. Alvera, with her connections from her husband's past, reached out discreetly to a few trusted individuals who could aid in their quest. These were scientists and thinkers, open-minded and discreet, who could contribute their expertise without drawing undue attention. A gathering of minds. They convened a secret meeting at the radio station, now transformed into a nexus of extraterrestrial research and planning. Each expert brought a piece of the puzzle. Linguists worked on fully deciphering Eli's language, while physicists explored the properties of the materials and signals associated with his technology. Eli, ever patient and wise beyond his apparent age, facilitated their efforts, guiding them gently towards understanding not just his language and technology but his culture and philosophy. He shared visions of his world, vibrant images of vast landscapes where cities blended seamlessly into nature and technology enhanced life without dominating it. Bridging two worlds. Their work was not without risks. The more they learned, the more they realized that there were likely others, less benevolent than Mrs. Alvera's contacts, who would be interested in exploiting Eli's knowledge for their own ends. Security measures were enhanced, and secrecy was paramount. As the group made strides in understanding and collaborating with Eli, they prepared for the day when they might openly share their findings with the world. They knew this day had to come. The potential benefits of Eli's knowledge for technological and environmental advancements were too great to keep hidden. But the delicate balance of secrecy and discovery dominated their daily efforts as the team at the radio station delved deeper into the technologies and philosophies Eli brought from Arctara. With each breakthrough, the implications of Eli's presence on Earth became more profound and far-reaching. The technologies not only promised a new era of energy efficiency and environmental restoration, but also hinted at the potential for fundamental shifts in global power structures. The incident. Despite their caution, the inevitable occurred. Late one evening, while John was reviewing data from their latest session, alarms blared through the makeshift lab. Their security systems had detected an intrusion. Masked figures armed with sophisticated equipment bypassed their defenses, moving with a precision that suggested military training. The intruders seemed to know exactly where to go. They headed straight for the main lab where Eli's most sensitive data and equipment were stored. However, they were not prepared for Eli himself. As they entered the lab, Eli stood calm, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. With a wave of his hand, the lights flickered, and the equipment around the intruders overloaded, emitting sparks and causing confusion. John and Mrs. Alvera, along with some members of their team, used the chaos to their advantage, confronting the intruders with non-lethal force. During the skirmish, it became evident that the attackers were not just thieves or curious scientists. They were operatives sent by a corporation known for its aggressive pursuit of alien technology. Aftermath and reflections. The encounter left the group shaken, but unharmed. It was a stark reminder of the dangers they faced. In the aftermath, as they repaired the damage and reinforced their security, discussions turned to the broader implications of their work. They were guardians of a gateway to interstellar relations and technology that could either uplift humanity or plunge it into conflict. Eli, understanding the gravity of the situation, revealed more about his mission. His people had observed Earth for centuries, watching as human technology and society evolved, often at the expense of the environment and balance. They had chosen to intervene now because they believed humanity was at a tipping point, capable of either great destruction or significant advancement toward harmony with the universe. Mobilizing allies. The attack galvanized them to reach out to more allies, including political figures and leaders in sustainable technology, who could help them navigate the challenges ahead. These new alliances were formed under strict confidentiality, creating a network of influence and protection that extended beyond the confines of the radio station. Preparing for disclosure. Knowing that they could not keep Eli's presence a secret forever, the team began to prepare for a controlled disclosure. They planned to introduce the technologies and knowledge slowly, ensuring that each step was taken with careful consideration of ethical and societal impacts. As part of this preparation, they worked on a documentary that would tell Eli's story and the potential benefits of his teachings and technology. They hoped that by controlling the narrative, they could prevent misuse and encourage a global dialogue about the implications of extraterrestrial contact. Eli, for his part, continued to share his insights, focusing on the philosophical underpinnings of his culture's technology, how it was designed to enhance life without dominating it. He emphasized the importance of intention in the use of any technology, to augment rather than control, to integrate rather than disrupt. As the pieces fell into place, the team watched the world outside, hopeful yet cautious. They were at the vanguard of a new era, pioneers at the intersection of human curiosity and alien wisdom. The coming days would require courage, diplomacy, and above all, a profound respect for the day of disclosure approached, cloaked in a mix of anticipation and apprehension. John and his team, with Eli at the core, had meticulously planned every detail of the unveiling. They had chosen a major scientific conference as the venue, ensuring a crowd of open-minded and influential thinkers would first hear their story. The presentation. Under the glaring lights of the conference hall with media from around the world broadcasting live, John took the stage. He began with the origins of their discovery, carefully omitting specific locations and sensitive technical details. Beside him, Eli stood serene, his presence alone enough to captivate the audience. John introduced Eli not as an alien, but as a new friend with profound knowledge and technology that could help address some of Earth's most pressing issues. As he spoke, behind them, images of Eli's star system and the technological wonders of Arctara illuminated the screen, demonstrating the technology. To demonstrate the tangible benefits of their collaboration with Eli, they revealed a small device, a prototype energy converter that could cleanly and efficiently extract energy from ambient environmental sources. The device was activated on stage, powering the entire conference hall without any connection to the traditional power grid. The crowd responded with a mixture of awe and skepticism. Many were intrigued by the potential of such technology, while others questioned its origins and implications. The team had anticipated such reactions and prepared detailed scientific papers, ready for peer review, laying out their findings and the underlying science in a transparent manner. Global reactions. The reaction to the disclosure was immediate and varied. News outlets around the globe picked up the story, each spinning it according to their perspective. While some hailed it as the dawn of a new era, others speculated about the risks of such advanced technology falling into the wrong hands. Governments were cautious but curious. Many reached out, seeking to understand more about Eli and his intentions. John and his team found themselves navigating a delicate political landscape, balancing their commitment to openness with the need to protect Eli and his technology from exploitation. Expanding the circle. In response to growing interest and the need for a structured approach to the dissemination of the technology, John helped establish a non-profit organization, the Arctara Harmony Initiative. Its goal was to manage the integration of extraterrestrial technologies into human society responsibly. The initiative set up educational programs and collaborated with international agencies to ensure that these new technologies were used ethically and sustainably. Eli became a symbol of hope and a bridge between worlds. He spoke at the United Nations, not in words, but through a mesmerizing display of holographic imagery and music that conveyed his people's philosophy of balance and coexistence, fostering a new understanding. Through these efforts, a new narrative began to take shape, one that highlighted the interconnectivity of life across the cosmos. Eli's insights into universal harmony resonated with many, sparking movements focused on not just technological advancement, but also on spiritual enrichment and environmental stewardship. As they continued to work with global leaders and communities, John and his team were careful to maintain the integrity of their mission. They established a series of global research centers, known as Harmony Hubs, where experts from various fields could study Arcturan technology and philosophy. As the world adjusted to the new realities introduced by Eli and the insights from Arctara, the initial tumult gave way to a broader acceptance. The Harmony Hubs became centers of innovation and diplomacy, blending Earth's technologies with Arctaran principles. This fusion not only accelerated technological advancements, but also promoted a deeper understanding of sustainability and interdependence. Consolidating progress. The Arctara Harmony Initiative continued to evolve, spearheading projects that demonstrated the practical applications of their technology. One of the flagship projects was the Global Clean Energy Network, which used the energy converters demonstrated at the conference to provide clean, efficient power to remote and underserved regions. This project alone drastically reduced global carbon emissions and highlighted the potential for a sustainable future. In urban areas, Arctaran architectural designs were introduced, creating buildings that adapted to their environment, structures that breathed, absorbed sunlight, and collected rainwater, fully integrated into the ecosystems around them. Cultural integration. Eli, ever the ambassador of his culture, initiated a cultural exchange program. Arctaran artists, philosophers, and educators visited Earth, while human delegates traveled to Arctara via advanced space travel technologies developed through the shared knowledge. These exchanges deepened mutual understanding and enriched both human and Arctaran cultures, weaving a tapestry of shared experiences and values. A new governance. The influence of Arctaran philosophy extended into global governance. The United Nations established a new body, the Council on Extraterrestrial Relations, dedicated to overseeing interactions with Eli's people and other potential extraterrestrial contacts. John was appointed as one of the advisors, bringing his first-hand experience and balanced approach to the council. This body worked not only to regulate the use of alien technology, but also to ensure that Earth's policies reflected the broader cosmic responsibilities humanity now faced. It was a testament to Earth's growing maturity as a member of the interstellar community. Addressing challenges. Despite the advancements in the generally positive direction, challenges persisted. Economic disparities, cultural resistance, and ideological conflicts continued to test the resilience of global society. However, the presence of a common external reference point in Eli and Arctara helped to realign these conflicts, providing a fresh perspective on old disputes and encouraging solutions that emphasized unity and coexistence. Reflection and anticipation. As years passed, John looked back on the journey from that fateful night in the alley to a world transformed by the knowledge and presence of an extraterrestrial child. He marveled at the change in societal values, the leaps in technology, and the shift in planetary consciousness. But more so, he appreciated the quieter personal transformations, the newfound respect for life, and the deepened understanding of humanity's place in the universe. Eli, now a familiar figure worldwide, continued to